we have to create the right vibe, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at PurelyArsenalFP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to another episode of the Sit Down at the Purely Arsenal podcast. It's 3 draws in a row, but it is St. Tottenham's Day. Hello, Neil Shah. How are you doing, Neil?
Yeah, I like that. 3 draws in a row, yeah. Yeah, well, I'm going to have to laugh and be smiling. What can you do? So point dwelling on those things. We're going to keep moving forward. So I'm fine. How you doing, Jack? You all right?
I'm doing okay. We're both bunged up with hay fever and whatnot. Or it's just, the tears of Arsenal. We don't know really. It could be that. You look at that. There we go. Got the handkerchief out. But mate. I mean, you were there. You and James were there. James hasn't managed to wake up. He's still feeling the effects of the game. It was a game we went into. We could have gone 7 points clear. We were already disappointed from a previous draw at West Ham, which was unnecessary, I think, to say the least. But this was against bottom of the league team. I think everyone, even the biggest pessimist, expect to go into this game and win it. Not necessarily win it comfortably, but to just come out and win it. We knew we weren't on the best of form, and I tell you, we could not have had a worse start. It mimicked Bournemouth from the start. I know you don't love lineup stuff, but just before we get into the Ramsdale moment and everything, we found out about an hour before Xhaka was ill. And I like Xhaka, but it's one of those positions where I don't absolutely dread it because I feel like I wonder what the option is. I wonder what he will select in it, because it does feel like at that 8 we've got a plethora of possible options, and you don't really know which one is the exact secondary place. Like Ben White went out, Tomiyasu comes in for the 8. It felt like it could have been one of 3-4 players possibly. And he selected Fabio Vieira, which is probably the most likely one that he could have selected, but it in hindsight was a really poor selection. And I like Fabio Vieira a lot, but this was a really poor game from him. But it was a poor game from the collective, wasn't it? I mean, in hindsight, did you look at that and think, he should have gone with Smith Rowe, or really, maybe even he should have gone with Trossard with the way he looked when he came on?
100%. I was shocked at Vieira. I just didn't understand it. I didn't get to see the lineups. We were at the game really early. Well, not the game. We were at the around the surrounding areas really early, and we got carried away with just chatting and maybe a few drinks and whatnot. And then I completely forgot it already passed 7 o'clock and the teams must be out. And I can't remember who actually said, "All right, the teams are," and then they're going, "Oh no, everyone selected Vieira." We're not trying to down on the guy, because I don't like to do that with our players. I hate it, and I think there is a player in him. I just feel he needs a loan. I don't think he's ready. I remember when he first came on, we were like wowing. We were like, oh god, this guy looks awesome. He looks pretty handy. But then the few chances he has got, and again, let me just play devil's advocate for a sec. He hasn't had the minutes to really prove himself, I don't think. But at the same time, I just feel because of his physical attributes, I think he's just lacking. I remember Nketiah was lacking. I remember Martinelli was lacking. Even Saka to a certain extent. They all had to bulk up a little bit. And I think the same for him. I think because of the rigours of the Premiership, he needs that little bit more physically. And then I think he might be in a better state to play at the pace of the game. Now, I think the loan would do him well. I don't think we should cut ties with him. I've been hearing a lot of rumblings that he should sell him and get rid of him. I don't think it's at that stage yet. I think give him a loan, try that out, see what happens. I just don't think he's ready, Jack. I don't, but I could be wrong. What do I know? So when I saw that, I thought, and then I saw Smith on the bench. I thought, hang on a second. If he's fit enough to be on the bench, why isn't he playing? We had all that kind of showcasing him as the new number 10. I know we were looking for number 8, but we had his shirt, and he can play in those positions. I know he can, but why have all of that big kind of media circus? Look at our new number 10, him coming just like the Bergkamp picture, and I'm just thinking, why is he on the bench now? I know there could be, he hasn't played much. He's come off injuries, etc. and they maybe talk about his mental state. But then if all of those are true, he should be on the bench, Jack, for me. And then if not him, what you just said a minute ago, Trossard. Trossard's been exceptional. But I have to say, when we had the front lineup, again, I know I'm talking about a different position here, but when we had the mix of Martinelli, Trossard, and Saka, isn't that when we had our 7-game winning streak? I could be wrong. And then since Jesus has come back...
No, you're correct, yeah.
And when Jesus has come back, and look, again, Jesus is fantastic. He's a revelation for us. It's not happened, has it? We've had 3 draws. I'm not blaming it on Jesus, but I'm just saying, just mixing that or changing that slight balance when we've actually got the player still fit and willing to play, and you saw what he did when he came on, I found that baffling as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
Now, I know we can't do much with the defence because of that stupid Europa game. We lost Tomiyasu and Saliba in the same match in 20 minutes. So we don't have anything much to do at the back. I mean, we can shuffle it, maybe change it to a 3, or as you guys were talking about on the WhatsApp group, or, we've got Kiwior and try him out, maybe blood him a little bit more, because there is potentially a lot of good stuff that I'm hearing about him. But, I don't understand Trossard. I don't understand Smith Rowe at all. So I was surprised.
No, you make some interesting points, ones that I haven't really heard too much as well, especially with the loan of Vieira. I mean, I've been trying to avoid a lot of stuff on social media just in the last... It's been pretty toxic, hasn't it? And to be honest, I'm toxic at the best of times, but I've been super positive this season, so I'm finding it hard to just flip, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to... I see this team in a whole different light to what I've seen previous teams for decades, to be honest. I still came out of the game feeling tremendously proud of the team, but frustrated and disappointed. It was a weird one. It's just very weird. And I think you make a good point on Vieira. I think my issue with it was, when it first announced, I think I texted my dad and he went, do you reckon it'll be Vieira? And I went, most likely, I think it will, just because in previous games, before Smith Rowe was fit, for example, it was. And Willie, a lot of his comments have hinted at him not really feeling Smith Rowe's quite ready for whatever reason. Now, you're right. What if he's been match fit since sort of mid-January, end of January, whatever it was? Why has that not been the case? What's going on there? And I think there's probably more to it, possibly in the sense of, his trust in the player, or maybe somewhat. But Smith Rowe, I think, has had about 100 minutes tops this season. And I think the issue you've got there is these are the biggest games of Arsenal's last decade. They're the biggest games of Mikel Arteta's career currently. And I think what's really difficult is for him to throw in a player that's had that fewer minutes. What you might argue on the other end is how's he going to get them? But I just think, if we'd had those extra few Europa League games, or a few rounds there, or an extra few rounds in the FA Cup, or I think he would be blooded in. I just think the fact we've just have the league to focus on, and every game is a cup final within it, I think it makes it really hard. Like, he did feature, though, against Brentford, didn't he? Oh, sorry, not Brentford, but Bournemouth. But then he came back off and Nelson came on and did his thing, which was interesting. So then you could argue there that, well, he had faith in him there, so what's happened since then? And he didn't have a terrible performance against Bournemouth in terms of, it was his first game back. So I think you do have a good argument there with there's maybe something more to it. With Vieira, I just think he missed a trick here, because Arteta notoriously, with young players that have relatively inexperienced with the team, like if you look at Saka in his first season under Arteta, he actually withdrew him from some of the really latter stages, important games. Like if you look at the FA Cup that he won, Saka didn't feature in any of those late rounds. None of them. He played Pepe. Not because he knew Saka was better. He played him because Saka didn't have the experience in those type of games. And that's what I found a little bit odd about Vieira. I think we've noticed in the clippets in the last few weeks of Vieira that the games are getting too big. They're quite physical at times, and he gets lost in the physicality. And I especially think he gets lost when he's next to Odegaard, because Odegaard's frailties, if there are any, mimic Vieira's. They're both a little bit lightweight off the ball. Odegaard combats that with his energy and his enthusiasm and his constant high press, but Vieira lacks all of that. He's like a young Ozil in terms of his physical presence, isn't he, really? So I think he should. My issue was not that he started Vieira. My issue was he didn't change him at half time, because we were all calling it. At half-time, we were going, get him off now. It's not going to change now. Get him off. Get Trossard on now, or Smith Rowe, but get him on now. And he waited till, I don't know, maybe 65th or something like that. You know, it wasn't early enough for me. Get him in there. And they made such an impact when they did that. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. Again, it's hindsight, but he's had a few errors, hasn't he, on subs in the last few weeks, which have gone along, of course, with our bad results. It kind of all accumulates. But Neil, you were there with James. You're meeting for the first time. It's an exciting moment. You've been on the pods for years. I still haven't met James. It's mental. But and then Ramsdale does that in the first 30 seconds. You must be thinking, what are you doing, you plonker? And we've been raving about Ramsdale in the last few weeks. There's been some argument that he didn't see the play. He saw the player. That's Burn Leno, mate. That's Burn Leno all over.
I've I don't know what to say. It really, really is. I was actually sat down, so it wasn't one of those where I missed it. I saw it plain as daylight. I've never been so cut perfectly down the middle, right through the middle of the nose, sitting in the centre of the pitch. I was bang in the centre. So
you're behind the goal, were you?
Yeah, no, bang in the centre of the central of the side. So I was watching it like you watch the telly, right in the middle of the pitch. So it was a great seat, and it was just the right height, if you know. Do you see what I mean? So sometimes being close is lovely because you're close to the pitch of the players, but sometimes it's good to be a bit further back because you almost get a television view. So it's not too bad. And I saw that and I thought, and I just looked at the players, people next to me, and I'm like, we just did that. We just shook our heads. We thought, right, so you had options to the left and right, and you try and dink a ball in between two of their attackers. And the space between the two attackers is very small, as far as I could tell. What the hell are you doing? Why try and be fancy even before the game has started, literally? I mean, why do that? You're risking all sorts of problems, which he did. It culminated in a goal. Good finish, by the way. Still a good finish. But there was no need to give them that opportunity that early on, because you could even see the surprise in their players celebrating. You could see the surprise. They're like, oh my God, we've just taken the lead against Arsenal within the first 10 seconds or a few seconds or whatever it was. And we're playing the team that's arguably the best in the league at the moment. And they were shocked in the sense that, oh my God, we've got a chance here, lads. And it sets the tone not only for them, but reverse effects on us, because again, we are chasing the game. And maybe we want to do it, Jack, because it seems from our recent records, we don't like going 2-0 up or 1-0 up because we get pegged back. So maybe we play better chasing the game. Maybe Ramsdale should have just kicked it in his own net to start off with, then we could have done it, because it would have been the same effect, really. But I thought that was ridiculous of him. Again, I love him. You know I love Ramsdale, and I'm not going to sit there destroying him. But he's had little moments like that, which you think, you're so good, generally. You pull off some absolutely world-class saves. You saved us against Liverpool, probably 2 or 3 times. Even in this game, even after the second goal, he had a couple of close shaves, didn't he? And he saved the ball. But it's like, why do you do these silly little things which are totally unnecessary? You know, I can understand it, Jack. If we're chasing the game, there's panic setting in, and maybe he just has a brain burp, and he does something like that. This is literally seconds after kickoff. No need for it. Just do the simple things. Do the simple things. I was shocked by that. Ridiculous.
I mean, Gabriel is in 30 yards of space. It's, you know, I get we want to act fast, we want to move fast, and it's, like you said, it's just so unnecessary. Some people are arguing he should have, because he got a fingertip to the save, that he should have made the save. I was actually more annoyed with his save or effort to save from Walcott's, because I just felt it was so close to him. I don't think it was a great finish. I mean, he took it early like Walcott does, and Walcott, in fairness, was fantastic in that first half specifically. I mean, I was watching it going, okay, you're fantastic here, but I watched you against City the other week and you barely touched the ball. So, but then, you know, that is where City are at, and that's where we're at the moment. But, no, I agree with you. We're just so disappointing, so frustrating. Mimic the Bournemouth game early on in terms of the conceding early, switching off, just silly stuff, not learning from it. Us being there's been a sort of feeling over the last few weeks of us, some people say cockiness. It's really just a lack of understanding, awareness. I don't know, just this lack of understand how big the moments are, which is just strange, and just far too relaxed, far too.
It's lack of professionalism, Jack. It's not professional. Sorry.
And, yeah, no, it's not, and they obviously know how important these moments are, but they're far too relaxed in that moment. You know, people say feeling the pressure, but I'm almost like it's almost the opposite. They're far too loose. You know, far too loose at that moment, and frustrating. And like you said, Ramsdale, he's 24. Look, I love Aaron Ramsdale. Again, I listened to a few people saying, you know, you've got to be looking at new goalkeepers. I just wouldn't go to that point. Yeah, people were saying the same thing about Jesus, which we'll get to in terms of number 9s, and I think I want to discuss that one a bit more. But he's 24. He's making silly errors that a lot of 24-year-old goalkeepers make that don't hit the heights that he has done this season. So, of course, we're backing him, but man, he's got to be looking at that and not doing that ever again. Because, yeah, playing those balls down the middle are fine, but it's got to be on, and there's got to be no risk in it, because otherwise you're leaving yourself completely open.
Absolutely. He might have just wanted the headlines, Jack. He thought, De Gea, no, he's done that. I've got to go on better.
Yeah.
After what De Gea did, it's ridiculous.
Mate,
I know I'm laughing, and I shouldn't be laughing, but honestly, no.
Yeah.
I hope he learns. You know, in life we all make mistakes, right? The lesson is to learn from it, and let's hope he learns from it.
No, exactly, and we'll back him. He has been fantastic. He's definitely been up there with one of our best players of the season. And in the last 3 or 4 weeks, or maybe even just a couple of months, where we've been worse defensively, our XG's been worse defensively, because he's really helped keep us up there at the top of the league. There's been games where we could have drawn it, we could have lost it. You know, Liverpool, for example. I think moments in even those simple games against Palace at home, for example, he made some key saves. Leeds at home, I remember early doors, he made some key saves, which we forget about because it was simple victories, but he really did. And so look, it's just a poor performance from Ramsdale in this game. I don't really think he 2 of the goals I really was frustrated with him. For the third, I can't blame him for. I thought it was just terrible defending on a set piece. But on the second one, who did you blame there? Because there's a lot of blame from my perspective in terms of how the ball got there. One person that didn't get a lot of blame was Rob Holding, but there is some stills of him going around on that goal, and the amount he steps off. I think it's Alcaraz again. The guy
should have been closer. He should have got closer.
He was 15 yards off him, Neil, and Saliba. As soon as he gets that ball,
he would have been tight. He would have been tight. 100%.
And that's a huge thing. But I feel bad saying that because he actually wasn't directly involved in any of it. But it's his positioning, his spatial awareness.
Rob Holding was positioning. I think it was a bit of a pinball thing happening in midfield, wasn't it? It stemmed from midfield.
Yeah.
And I think was it Partey got a touch, and then it would Odegaard, and then it came off Odegaard.
Yeah, Saka's ball wasn't great to Partey, but Partey could have done better with it, I think.
That's right, that's it. Yeah, it's the other way around. Sorry, so I'm trying. I couldn't remember.
No, but you're right. Odegaard gave the ball away in the end, I believe.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. So it's just a mess in midfield. I just don't think. Talking about midfield very quickly, see, this is where the Saliba loss again is impacting, because before, if you think about that defence that we had, it was so goddamn solid, Jack. It really was. This is no disrespect to look, let me just have a quick word about Holding. Holding is playing the best that he can play. You can't have. I'm not happy with fans destroying him because Holding is what he is. That's it. He's not doing anything. I don't think he's making a few errors here and there, but you're going to expect that. He's not a world-class, again, with all due respect to Holding, he's not a world-class defender like Saliba is or will become. But he is doing the best of what Holding can do, of what Rob Holding can do. And he's the only option we've got. All right, we could try Kiwior, yes, but maybe Arteta doesn't feel he's ready for it.
He doesn't play 2 left footers. No one does.
And that as well. Because we've got, of course, yeah. So we've got to play him. What else have we got? Unless we change the formation at the back, so we've got to play him. So I don't think it's so much that, but I just feel losing Saliba has, I think, affected Partey in a way, because he's now having to worry a little bit more again about the back rather than what he was doing when he had the comfort of having the Saliba-Gabriel relationship behind him. Now he's having to worry about that as well as what goes forward. What I saw in this game was going back another year and a half, 2 years, where in the midfield, when we got the ball in the midfield, it was a lot of side-to-side pass. It was almost, again, wouldn't say they were afraid to go forward, but it was almost as if we were lacking ideas again of going forward because we just didn't have the energy, we didn't have the creativity again, and we lacked something. And I just thought, oh my God, we're doing this side to side shit. We are chasing the game. What are you doing? Think of doing something. And that's where someone like Trossard would have been very useful. And he wasn't there, and he wasn't around. And so I think the Saliba thing isn't just about the defence, Jack. It has completely changed the way we were playing as a whole unit for me, and that's, so in a way, I know people are having a go at Partey, that he's dropped off and stuff, but I think he's lost that balance. And of course, he didn't have Xhaka. Him and Xhaka have been playing really well. We've got to say that. I think I might be going on a limb here, and it's all with hindsight and all hypothetical, but I have a feeling if Xhaka was playing in that game, I don't think we would have lost. I don't think we would have dropped the points. I've got a feeling we might have been all right and gone on to win that. But it is what it is, and we can't change history now. But yeah, the goal, I think it was a midfield. We were just chaotic in midfield. I thought we were absolutely lost and chaotic in midfield. And if we're chaotic and lost in midfield against Southampton, God knows what we're going to do against City. It's day and night, isn't it? Really.
Nightmares,
and yeah, Rob Holding was, I think, just slightly off him. And yeah, well, as you said, it was quite a how can you say, a Walcott-esque finish, if you like. And I think you're right. He played a lot better than he has done previously. But what I did respect for him is he didn't celebrate. I did respect that from him. I really did. And I think he made some comments afterwards. And he was almost apologetic. That he's almost
he's a lovely chap.
He's kind of thinking, oh my God, have I just derailed Arsenal's season or derailed their chance to the title? But I did respect the fact that he didn't celebrate. I did hear James, I think, on Michael's podcast, thinking he said I wanted him to celebrate, but I quite like that he didn't, to be fair. And that
funny
because
he has done in the past. He scored against us in the COVID point where we were on a terrible run and we drew 1-1 with them. I think I don't know how it came on a highlight somewhere, and he did celebrate, but he probably is understanding of how big the moment is, He linked to that on his post-match interview, to be honest. I've got nothing bad to say about Theo Walcott. I mean, as a chap, I love him. There's an argument to say how successful he was, but good servant to the club. I've got nothing bad to say about him. He was terrific. He caused us a lot of trouble in the first half. His speed looked like it was there. I was frustrated because we know it's not the Theo Walcott that we've known, and he's causing us this many trouble again. Going to the fact that defensively we just look like we're all over the shop.
Absolutely.
But I think you're right. There's so many errors in there for that second goal. It's not, from their perspective, it's lovely. It's a great ball. It's a great finish, but they, this is the bottom side in the league. They shouldn't be given that time and space to be able to pick that out, really. And we're so exposed at the back. We're so open because Partey gets caught high up, and it's a poor ball from Odegaard, but it's probably a poor initial ball from Saka. But yet Partey, a good Partey, does way better with it. He keeps hold of the ball, and he's loose again with his first touch. It's just a terrible time to have.
And where was Zinchenko? He was further up.
Yeah, he had a terrible game as well.
If you looked when Theo's collecting the ball, or where he's got his hands up to say where to put it, where's Zinchenko? He was chasing it all the time. I mean, he's already, and this is the thing, and this is the argument. He's just, when he does what he does and it works, it's brilliant. It's absolutely mesmeric. I mean, there was that game where he was, you remember his heat map? We did the podcast and we talked about the heat map, and he was everywhere. But that's the game that we won really well, and we played really well as a collective. When it works, it's fantastic. But when it's not, when things are not going our way, maybe he needs to think that I've got to do a bit more defence. I've got to put my defensive hat on, not just think about going forward or bombing forward. And if he's going to be like that, stick him in midfield then and bring Tierney on. And I know he won't. Arteta won't do that. Yeah. But you've got, we've got to have some structure at the back, otherwise it ain't going to work. If you're not going to play or have Zinchenko playing as that in that position, then change it to a 3. You can't play whatever you're playing and then have a player missing, especially in these moments where we've lost a bit of confidence, we've lost that balance at the back, and because of the lack of Saliba and Tomiyasu. I forgot to mention Tomiyasu. He's another option that we've lost. Huge problem, yeah. Right? So massive problem. So we've lost all of that. So then you've got to think that okay, we're not as confident, we're not as ticking as well as we were. So we've got to maybe go a little bit more orthodox at the back, and it's. I don't know. It's crazy.
No, this is the same problem that Liverpool have had with Trent Alexander-Arnold, and they've not seen it. Maybe they're just starting to see it. They've taken about 18 months to see the problem, and even their fans haven't seen the problem. They still don't think there's a problem with Trent Alexander-Arnold. And the problem we're going to have, and yet Trent Alexander-Arnold is still one of the most important players, and I think we're in the same boat with Zinchenko. I still see in a year's time him being one of our most important players. But if we don't have an alternative that is viable, defensively stronger, but yet can still play the inverted role, which we currently don't. Tomiyasu was our alternative, wasn't he? And he was a good makeshift alternative for that. I think he's a little bit too defensive to be that role, a little bit not quite as technical enough. But we will sign someone. Arteta sees that issue, I think. The issue in this game was the experienced players, like you say, Neil, the parties, the Zinchenkos, the Jesus, the ones that have been there and won it. Those were the ones that were letting us down. But yet it was the Martinellis, it was the Sakas, it was the Odegaards that haven't won a thing that brought us back from the death. And it shouldn't have to be that way. That's not what if just one of those experienced players had their head screwed on right, we win that game, you know? But they're all switching off, all at different points. Partey, I mentioned earlier in the season that as much as I love Thomas Partey, there's a weird thing with his statistics throughout his career where he's never actually won a league title. He got to Atletico Madrid the season after they won it, I believe, and he left the season they won it. He never won the league title with them. He got given a medal for the season he arrived at us, I believe, or something like that, or because he played a few games, but he never actually won it from playing full way through the season. And these are the key games, Has he played in these key? I think he won the Europa League, so yeah, he has to that extent. But a league title is very, very different. So really, we're looking at Zinchenko and Jesus, and they've won it with amazing structure. Look at City; they saw Zinchenko. Right? They wanted to keep him because they know what he's got when everything's going good. But what did they do? They removed Zinchenko. They removed Cancelo. They played Ake. Why? Ake's not better going forward than either of those two. But no one goes past him. And that's more reliable. And Ake started to get better going forward slowly. A bit like Ben White has slowly started to get much, much more assured going forward. God, I hope he's out on Wednesday. They're injecting him with something right now, aren't they? Allegedly. But we're 2-0 down. Honestly, we're not creating a lot. I think in the first half we had 25 shots to their 8 in the end, but we only had 6 on target. I think we only had 1 on target in the first half, maybe at a push 2. But again, Neil, it's John's moaning about Saka constantly. He said it's his fault for a second goal. He's always moaning about Saka. I was like, he's our best player. If anything happens in this game, he's bringing us back into it. And that was the case. Nothing was happening. He flips down the right. He does a few like he always does. And he whips it into Martinelli. And Martinelli, I don't know what his goals statistics are. Maybe it's 15 in the league. I think he's the top scoring Brazilian winger of all time in the Premier League. Something like that already in terms of a league season. These are the players, that are giving us hope at the moment, aren't they, Neil?
As you said, it's the youngsters again. Just like Smith Rowe and Saka did a couple of years ago. I'm so grateful and feel blessed that we've got them. We've got 2 terrific wingers, Jack. Terrific. And I was hearing the things that, although the Martinelli had a good game, it was maybe a few here and there, but I'm sorry, he's banging 15 goals for us. I'm not going to criticise him. He's had a good season, no matter what happens now going forward. For me, Martinelli's already done his job. And he's earned his stripes for me all day long. And Saka's just a worldie. He's just a worldie. We are truly blessed, and I mean that, to have a player of his talent in our team. And he's so passionate about it as well. And he's got his head screwed on. He really has got his head screwed on. To come again away from a penalty miss. And just get back into it. People starting to get worried about his mentality, whatnot. But he's terrific. He's terrific, and it was a good finish. Another nice finish from Martinelli. Really, really solid execution, and it's what we needed. I think we scored that in the 20th minute. I think it was.
Was it that early? Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm checking back for the timeline right now.
I'm sure it was 20th minute.
Yep, you're right. 20th minute. You were there. Yeah. I don't know why I'm arguing with you.
But
no, you're right, Neil. I mean, these are fantastic players, and they've signed with us, which is fantastic.
And talking about the youngsters, this is where Jack, I completely agree with what you said about Emil Smith-Rowe. That and everything you said, but we blooded him when you remember. I think we had to bring Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe because of injuries to our squad. Do you remember a couple of years ago? They got in, they got their chances.
Yeah,
because
like
of
Chelsea
injuries.
game, that kind of moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And I just feel that this is kind of that situation again.
Yeah.
I hear what you said about Vieira as well, I mean, there's always. I don't think there's ever a wrong or right answer. It's the way we see things. We can analyse to the cows come. If we'd won and we won well, we wouldn't be having any of these conversations, would we?
No,
so it's such fine margins when football discussion is such a fragile thing, because it just depends on the fine margins that can occur during the game. We could have had a very different conversation if Trossard had got that ball in the net. Don't know. Well, we may have still talked about the frailties, but it still would have been a win, and it changes the perspective of it all. But I just feel that we had to give Smith-Rowe that chance when we had an injury crisis, and he done well. I really feel that although it's the business end of the season, I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders, and I think he could do something good for us if he's not going to go for Trossard straight away. I really do, and I'm only saying that because you brought up the question, the thing about youngsters and our young team, and it seems to be the younger generation that is coming good when we really need it to be the seniors. But I'll go back and say again, I think we really miss Xhaka. Where would any of us, have been saying that a year ago or a year and a half ago? We really miss Xhaka, I think.
Yeah, he's just stable, isn't he? You know what you get.
He is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great to get it. I've got to say, applaud the stadium again and the fans in it. Even when we were 2-0 down, Jack, we didn't give up. When Ramsdale made that error, we got behind the player.
I love Holding picking him up as well. I love all that stuff.
Yeah. And when we went 2-0 down, although initially it was like stunned silence, I'm not going to lie, it was.
Yeah.
As quick as it was stunned silence, it was again, bang. Come on, Arsenal. Dylan, the crowd started clapping. Come on, get back in there. Because, the only good thing about their 2 goals was they were early doors. So we got still a lot of time to come back. And because we've seen us do it before, I think that kind of gave us a bit of self-confidence that, look, there's plenty of time. And then that Martinelli goal, thought, yeah, right, we're back in it again. I've got to say, what I didn't expect was them to go 3-1 up after that, but that's another story. But there you go.
Well, that was the kicker, wasn't it? I mean, because of 2-1, you felt you got time here. You can't believe you're in this position again. In one side, you're thinking, how many times can you come back from stuff like this? But you believed, and we did start the second half well. We did start it on the front foot. We were a lot better than we were in the first half. And then you concede a sloppy corner, and it's a near post flick on, and everyone is miles away from the guy heading it in. Who was it? Was it Coletti that headed it in? I think it might have been. Who should have been sent off in the first game against? Yeah, it was Coletti. He came in at half time.
It was so frustrating because Saka and Zinchenko looked at him, so they knew where he was. And then neither of them did anything about it. It's like, you just give him a free ride. Yeah, go on, have a go. But again, Rob Holding, I think if Saliba had been in that position, and again, it sounds like I'm pooping Rob Holding, but if Saliba in that position, I think he would have just changed where he was, marking the guy that flicked it on. Yeah. And I think Saliba would have got to that. But I've got to say, in this case, we just lauded Saka. He saw where that player was, and I think he should have run to him to try and put him off or do something. And he didn't.
The frustration. Yeah. Frustration is, again, with Xhaka, we lose the height, we lose the awareness in the box. And, if you watch Zinchenko and Saka, they're both looking to break from that ball. They're thinking we're going to win it, and they're both looking to break because we're down. We did the same thing against Bournemouth when we went 2-0 down. We switched off at a set piece. But that's the moment. We're not putting the same energy into our defending application in defending where we were earlier in the season. It's just the basics, And you lose. You can't anticipate you're always going to win that flick on. And if you don't, that's fine. But you've got to be marking your men. You just left him. He's in acres of space, isn't he? At 3-1, I mean, I think we all, when you were in the stadium, but I think personally, I took one eye off of it. I mean, I was watching it. I didn't leave my seat. I was at work, but I was watching it. But I took one eye off. I pretty much thought that was done and dusted at that point, to be honest. And then all the changes start to come, and I felt they should have come at 2-1. To be honest, I felt they should have come at half time. Certainly the Vieira off one. We already spoke about him, and that didn't happen. But then he starts to make the changes, and I did feel his changes were generally the right ones in this game as opposed to previous games. I thought they all had a positive impact. Really, Trossard, Nelson came on in the 85th minute, and I thought he was fantastic. And in chaotic play, Nelson is amazing. I mean, if a game is a basketball game, just put Nelson on, because I tell you what, see that moment where he tracked back to win the ball in like the 88th, 89th minute? Well, it might have been just after the 3-3, so it might have been late in the 90th.
Spot on. Broken player, he's brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah, broken play as a sub. He is brilliant. I'm not convinced from him from the start. I'm not convinced at all from him from the start. But broken play, when you need a moment, a goal, and the game's ragged, both teams are all over, just put him on. And he loves chaos. He loves it. And it was his setup for the Saka one. But before we get to that, I mean, at 3-1, did you feel pretty much it was sort of a lost cause at that point? I mean, just because they'd scored again, so...
Yeah, I think the 3-1 was a kicker for me. I thought at 2-1 I would have had hope. Because I think with me, my mindset was this, Jack. For my mindset was, we have to win. So for me, even a draw wouldn't have been good enough. And I'm thinking, how are we going to get 3 goals? I wasn't even thinking about getting 2 goals to get to 3-3. I was thinking, we ain't got any hope in hell to get 3. Even us, after the miracles we've been performing. And actually, with hindsight, we got quite close, didn't we? Unbelievably so. Twice. Not
Very
just the
close.
Nelson almost did it. Can you imagine what a story that would have been? Doing it twice.
Wow. That's the contract signed right there and then, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. So I was like you. I was like, well, forget it. Because for me, even a draw, is that really good enough? I don't know if it is. I'm not sure it is. So even if we do get it to 3-3, great, but still disappointed. But I've had time to reflect now. Obviously, you're in the moment. You're in the stadium, or you're watching it at home, whatever. Emotions are high always. Now I've had time to think about it. I've got a different view on it, which I'll maybe talk about in a little bit. But I didn't think there was much hope. And then, we did it again, unbelievably so. And I think that actually Odegaard's goal, there was a nice bit of run of play or a passage of play for that. I think there was a few exchanges. And
he was fantastic, wasn't he, in the last
great.
20?
Oh, great. And then to get the way he positioned himself for that goal. I think Ben White was assisted it, didn't he? Was it Ben White?
Rewatching it is Ben White. It's Ben White with an inside touch. Then it's it's a couple of little 1-2s between Odegaard and Ben White. Now, who I didn't think had a great game, Ben White, to be honest. I don't think Odegaard had a great game, but when we needed him the most...
He steps up.
Yeah, he steps up. And then what's annoying to me, Neil, is in the last few games where we've been needing a goal, he's taken Odegaard off. At West Ham, he took him off.
Yeah, that's so true.
So why are you taking him off? He proved this last season. By the way, we were down a couple of goals last season at home, and West Ham away in his loan. Who brought us back? Odegaard. If we're down, he's another player. Keep him on. I say keep him on because he's captain for a reason, isn't he?
Absolutely, you don't bring him off.
Don't get that one.
That is really strange, and he proved it. He proved it in this game. And that was a great goal. I mean, yeah, he had to take it. He did move about to shuffle himself to get on his strong side, but what a goal. What a finish. Again, it was a classic one. There wasn't an awful lot of power, but his positioning was fantastic. Goalkeeper didn't have a chance. And it was a direct shot. There was no deflection. Went straight in. Beautiful goal. And then, oh my God, Jack, the stadium. Oh dear, oh dear.
Well, when Saka's went in, you must have gone mental.
Oh, 100%. Oh my God. And you know what?
Because there was still time.
How many times I've said it in this pod this year or this season? I don't think it's going to get any louder. Oh, and I'm sure you had it when you went. It's literally it's moving.
Yeah, moving.
How is that possible for such a solid structure? It's ridiculous. And when that went in, and then of course Saka, and again a credit to Nelson. He makes himself he's such an annoyance to that defence. You see, I think that's the thing. I think when you've got teams on the back foot, when you know that we have now got the wind in ourselves because there's like, oh my God, hang on a minute, there's a chance here. That's the best time to play Nelson because he's fantastic at that. He's almost like a predator. He's like a stalker, and he's like, right, in this chaos, I can see something and I can latch onto it. That's exactly what he did. And it was his shot, wasn't it? That was deflected, and Saka just did what Saka does. And he's the first person to notice the ball's loose. I'm going to hit it, get it straight in the net. And wow, the response. Wow, the stadium. Honestly, Jack, I was deafened. You're on mute, by the way, but I was deafened. Deafened. It was so loud. And then there was kind of no one stood after that. No one was sitting down. They were just standing up, and we were expecting. Do you know what? Can lightning strike twice? Could it be Nelson that does it? And then Trossard shows why he should have come on a lot earlier.
Yeah. Great shot.
Great effort.
That was probably the best chance. I mean, we had a lot of in-the-box scrambles. Jesus asking for penalties. I haven't seen clips to know if any were, or maybe they were too light and soft. And I mean, let's again, Saka, Odegaard. I mean, they're all in double figures now in the league. It's getting silly in terms of their goals. There's been a lot. I mean, Jesus had some chances. I don't off the top of my head. He had a lot of chances for sure. I don't off the top of my head recall any unbelievable sitters, but I'm trying to recall. Maybe I need to watch the extended highlights. But he had 1.45 XG and he didn't score a goal. In the Premier League overall, he has around 65 or 67 goals for a 90 expected goals. I'll give you the equivalent. I believe Firmino, who's linked to him a lot in terms of the playing style, is probably at around 85 goals for a 93 expectancy. So what they're basically saying is he should get a lot more goals than what he does get, and his finishing's relatively poor. That's basically what he's saying. But the argument has come out since this game. People lauding him, by the way, before this game, but okay. But since this game, the argument's come out from some fans or some sections of the fan base that he's not doing his job. We need someone more prolific in there. We've got to change it up next season. We need someone more prolific. I wouldn't go that far. I think the XG was there before you bought him. You knew exactly his highest ever goal ratio is 13, 14 goals. He's got 9 this season and he's missed 3 months. We've bought exactly what we expected to buy. There's nothing we did. We bought a guy that we knew if we played him, the team would score a hell of a lot with him, but he might not necessarily be the person that's putting him in the back of the net. He's done exactly what we've asked him to do. So to say we need to change him means there's not a chance Arteta's thinking that. My opinion is the alternative is the problem, because when you bring on Eddie, which I didn't agree with personally, I get it because we're trying to get a goal, but I didn't agree with it. I actually didn't. I would have brought on Smith Rowe. I would have brought on someone else that I think could provide something a little bit different, and not take up space where I don't think it's necessarily needed. But Eddie is also low on his XG, and the problem with that is it mimics the problems of Gabriel Jesus without the strengths of him, because Eddie doesn't have all the link-up play and bringing others into the spot. So my issue is the alternative isn't prolific enough, not that Jesus isn't prolific enough. And I think that's my real issue. And I'm not blaming Eddie for any of this. He didn't play hardly at all in this game. It's not his fault. But I don't know. What's your feeling on Jesus? He obviously had a poor game in front of goal. There's no denying that. But I think sometimes we've got to have a little bit of objectivity, haven't we?
I think so. I think we'd be stupid to get rid of him. Absolutely ridiculous. I wouldn't. No. I like him. I like him a lot. I like his passion. Maybe sometimes it's questionable, but I think his heart and his mind, I think, are generally in the right place for our club. He wants the club to do well. And I think that's why him and the likes of Zinchenko are getting very emotional. I think they feel that, they have been an intrinsic part, respectively, to contributing to where we actually are. Let's not forget, we're still 5 points clear at the top of the table. People seem to forget this, which is unbelievable when you think about it, Jack. We're still 5 points. Yes, they've got 2 games in hand. Yes, it's in their hands. Well, is it really? Because if we beat them, it's kind of in our hands as well, still, in a small way. So I think that, that they feel like they've become a part of that process to get us there. And I think when we have let down moments, they feel it. They're showing it. They're wearing their heart on the sleeves. I like that. I know there's been some criticism of it, and I get the reasons why. But it's like the huddle, didn't it? When Zinchenko got them all in the middle of the pitch, and maybe some of them were like, "What are you doing? We don't need to be schooled here. You're not a school teacher." But I I used to laud it when it used to happen, when Xhaka did it, when we scored that goal against Tottenham, I think it was, and he said, calm down, don't get excited, and he did it. He was lauded, he was praised. So, but Zinchenko's getting criticised for it. So, no, I like it. For me personally, this is my thing. I might be wrong. I like all of that. I like the emotions. And I think they're just feeling that, this is a time where we're that close. Let's not let it go now. We're 6 games away to actually achieving something absolutely unbelievable. Let's not let it go. So I get all of that. And I think Jesus, I think that would be a mistake. I think you're right. I know you're going to say, get rid of it. That's what he thinks. I think we need an Eddie replacement. I know that sounds so harsh. I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think we need an Eddie replacement. I just feel, he done what he done, and he done it really well. Okay, he done it really well when Jesus was absent. We didn't miss Jesus. You see, this is the two differences. You've got I think Saliba's absence has been it's obvious. I'm talking saying the opposite. Far more prolific than the Jesus one. When Jesus went missing, we still were carrying on quite well, and we had that little blip, as you said. I think before we were on air, where we lost to City, and then it was post or pre, I can't remember, and we had that blip. But then we recovered really well from that, really fast. And who's to say that's not going to happen this time? Who don't know? 3 draws, that could be our blip, mini blip. We could recover. I don't know, but I think the Saliba impact or loss of him has been far more prolific than the Jesus one. And that's quite comforting in a way. And there's the argument, as we said then, do we really need him then? Well, yeah, we do, because we were lucky that Trossard, Martinelli, and Saka stayed fit. Once we bought Trossard in January, Trossard was amazing in his absence as well. Eddie did his bit in his absence. But I think that it would be really good for Eddie, I believe, if he went to another club. I really believe for his own progress, because I don't think, again, it's going to be very similar next season, Jack. I don't think he's going to get much time if all our other frontline players are fit. I really don't think he will. So I think it's best for him to go. And then we've got someone else who's maybe a little bit more, I don't know. How can you describe a super Eddie, if you like, kind of player? Maybe who's someone who's a little bit more stronger, a little bit quicker. I don't know. I just feel that we need someone in his position rather than Balogun could be the answer. Don't know. So yeah, but I think it's wrong to say that we need to think about an Jesus option. I think that's ridiculous. What he offers around the ball, around not scoring, is incredible. He really does bamboozle defenders. They don't know what they're going to get with him, and he does show up in pace. And hang on a minute, let's not forget he has scored a couple of goals since he's come back. Is it 3 goals he scored?
I think he had 4 in 3 before this game.
So what are people talking about? He scored. It's just because he didn't score. Yeah, I think there was that one where he's done it a couple of times where the ball's like a cross pass towards the side of the post of the goalkeeper, and he's just not got there in time. He's just missed the the connection. And he had a couple of other chances maybe, but no way. I love Jesus. Not for me. No way. Definitely keep him.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And no, he had a tough game. You could have subbed him possibly, but why would you when you're trying to get goal? He was getting in the position, I mean, we made this argument against Aubameyang and Lacazette, and we're like, they're not even getting chances. They're not even getting near the ball. I mean, you never watch a game with Gabriel Jesus and go, he wasn't really involved today. It just doesn't happen. I mean, he's always involved in everything. Everything. You're defending, you're attacking. Doesn't matter. He's just involved. I love him. I think he's brilliant. And when he plays, Saka and Martinelli score more. That's what I think. And Odegaard, they score more when they play. Martinelli, he was in a bit of a rut. You brought him and Trossard back in, and suddenly, he's going. And that's what he's about. He's about bringing the best out of your best players. And Martinelli and Saka are our best goal-scoring players, and he brings the best out of those players. And that's why we've scored 1 goal less than Manchester City this season. The problem is we've conceded 34, and I don't remember the last time a team, and we've still got 6 games to go. I don't remember the last time a team that won the league conceded that many goals. I've looked up the last 10 years, and they've all been below 34, and that's after 38 games. So we're conceding far too many goals, and that's my biggest issue. I mean, and obviously Saliba being absent and Tomiyasu being absent, two of our best defenders. I know Tomiyasu didn't always start, but they really are two of our best defenders. Being out is hugely problematic, and we couldn't have predicted that really. But it's frustrating. But look, I mean, it's 3-3. I didn't really know what to think. I was disappointed. I was frustrated, but I was proud. I think at the end of the game as well that we didn't give in. You know, we managed to find a way to not make it absolutely calamitous and a nightmare scenario in a way, and to give us a little bit of hope. You know, I mean, you know, like I said, I am dreading Wednesday night. I think a lot of Arsenal fans are. You know, feeling the inevitable feeling of maybe last season, you know, where similar stuff happened and it all kind of collapsed upon us and stuff like that. That was obviously not going for a title, though. That was going for top 4, so it's definitely bigger things at play here. But with that, Neil, we do have to speak about the biggest game of the season, probably from a large perspective, being thought of for a few months. We're not going into it with any sort of buffer or lead that we had hoped, and I think that's the frustration. You know, when people say, "Oh, you know, Arsenal, you know, are feeling the pressure." You know, if you lose to a City or you know drop points at Newcastle away, and that's the reason you don't win it, you can't make those arguments. I don't think, but when you do it against you know West Ham who are struggling and Southampton, that's where those arguments have some bite to them, and they have some truth in them. You would argue, you know, but our record up north is terrible this season, Neil. We've drawn with Liverpool, we lost to Everton, we've lost to Man United. There's one or two others in there, so there's that to contend with. There's also the problem of having to change something. I think if he's ever going to change something, formation-wise, personnel-wise, like a serious change, that we don't expect, it would have to be now, because our next 3 games is City, Chelsea, and then Newcastle away. So we've got City and Newcastle away, 2 games where you may have to consider something different anyway. So this would be the time to do it. And I know you don't like talking about formations, and I'm not blaming it all on him, but it would have to, I think the only 2 options here, from his perspective, Arteta's, I think he's either going to stick it as it is with Rob Holding, or he's going to hope Saliba's got a new spine by Wednesday. And I think those are his only 2 options. I find it difficult to believe he changes his philosophy. Do you know what I mean? Like we were talking about in the chat earlier, Mike had some great ideas, I've got to say, in terms of formation. Do you think, though, there is because you know when he spoke about the formation, Mike, he had a lot of good points that people were putting interesting positions from it. He basically said play back 3, and put Martinelli and Saka as your wing backs, and put Tierney as your left centre back, or Kibio, or I argued, and put Zinchenko next to Partey, and things like that. Do you think that's a possibility at all for us on Wednesday? Because it is really, I mean, it's not all down to that. There's 5 games to go after it, and lots of things can happen there. But it is monumental now what that game could mean for our season specifically. You know,
I think anything's possible, but the point is Arteta's maybe ego or stubbornness. Can you see it? To be truthful, I can't.
I can't. No, I do find it really difficult to watch the last 3 games and for him to just go, we're actually doing the same thing again. Like, you know, he's obviously seeing there's problems, which conceded 7 goals in the last 3 games. So he's obviously seeing that. You know, he knows how silly. He said as much after the game. He said it's silly how we're conceding these goals. It's really silly. So we have what we have in defence. We mentioned it earlier. We've got our problems where we've got two key injuries. Either we go with the 3 and you know relieve Zinchenko of those defensive burdens, which obviously he would rather not have, and you know, and have a change of formation and pack the midfield, because at the end of the day, I think that's the key battle, because you know we've got to stop players like De Bruyne, haven't we? That's the problem. So yeah, he could do that. He could tweak it, but one thing he's definitely can't do is play Vieira. Can't do that. I'm hoping Xhaka will be back. I'm hoping Xhaka will be back. I don't know what his situation is. Is he back? He's just ill. Well, so again, if it's COVID or something like that, then he could be out, right? But no, even with that, as long as he's feeling fine, I expect he'll be fine. Fine.
Yeah. I think anything we do, the thing is we're getting fearful of them as well because they're just destroying everything in every other competition as well. I was expecting them to feel the pressure of the other competitions, and no, Bayern Munich dismantled them like with ease, literally. It's ridiculous. So it's like, well, forget the fact that they've got other competitions, not making any difference to them at all. So and seeing what they're doing and that blooming cyborg doing what he's doing. Holding against Haaland. Oh, Haaland.
We saw it a little bit, didn't we, in the FA Cup?
Yeah.
And although we didn't play that bad in the FA Cup, he changed him at half time for Saliba. And although that was when we conceded the goal, Saliba handled him a hell of a lot better, obviously.
He did. So I don't know whether we have to put someone else on him. I don't know. The thing is, what I will say, because I'm rubbish at formation, so I'll let you talk about what you think and how you see it. Just from a different perspective, for hope's sake, when we won the league in '89, we thought we'd blown it when we lost to Derby. We had a horrible result at Derby. And
was it at home, that Derby game?
I think so. I'm trying to remember.
It was 1-0. I know it was a 1-0 loss.
It was. I'm trying to remember Fever Pitch.
We lost 1-0 at home to Derby today. Do you think I really care about a poxy job? It's at home.
It's kind of similar. The dropping the points against Southampton is kind of because everyone expected us to beat Derby. Everyone expected us to beat Southampton. Like, I see it's all over. So football is a funny old game, as someone once said.
As well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We dropped points there. So it's kind of a little bit similar, and to give some fans who are kind of wavering, just that hope that it can happen. Maybe it's fated that we do beat City. I know it's a miraculous thing to ask. But it could be fated that we win the league by beating City, because you know what will happen? If by some strange capitulation, City have a capitulation, and they drop points when we don't expect them to in the last 4 or 5 games, and we win by not beating City, or they're going to say, yeah, you won the league, but you didn't beat City, did you? Isn't it more of a fairy tale? Isn't it more of a kind of a love story or a romance tale? That, we won the league in that year or that season, and we beat arguably one of the best teams in the world en route, away at their ground. Amazing. So there's the hope. And I think formation-wise, we've got to pack the midfield. So I kind of liked, was it Michael's formation where he said, let's play that.
I liked it. I mean, I thought Tierney, maybe Kivior or Tierney was up, but I liked the idea of it in a way.
But Trossard's got to feature far more. Even if he doesn't start, he's got to feature far more. I mean, I want the players that are doing the business. We've got to have our best players doing the business on that pitch on the day. Xhaka's got to be back. If he's fit and he's well, healthy, hopefully he is, he's got to be on there as well. I don't know what mix he does. I don't know what formation. But, I mean, Kiwior was interesting. Wow, to bloody him against a team like that.
Well, my argument for Kiwior over a Tierney in a back three was I think the trust has gone from Arteta in Tierney. I think it's visible to me. He started 5 games all season. I know Kiwior hasn't started many, but it's a different situation. He came in January, didn't he? And it would be a big ask. But basically what you're saying in the back three is that player is going up against their right winger, who is Riyad Mahrez, who is on fire at the moment. Do you know what I mean? And I've always thought Kieran Tierney's defensive capabilities are slightly overrated. Whilst I don't think they're as vulnerable as Zinchenko, I've never particularly thought he's a great defender. I've just felt he's better than Zinchenko and players going forward like that. But I've never really felt like Ashley Cole. I felt he was great going both ways. He rarely got done. I've never really thought that about Kieran Tierney defensively. I'm not, to be honest. I felt that even last season when I didn't even know about Zinchenko being in the side. So, I mean, look, the way they're playing, the thing that makes me think he might do something is just, I don't see how we match them with the personnel that we've got. If Saliba is somehow an option, which I find it very difficult to believe, but some people said he was out on the grass and things like that, and if that's the case, then if you're going to risk him at any point again, this is the time to do it. Because why don't you just say he's done for the season then? Because these are the games that you're waiting for, And I thought about it, and I was like, well, when did he last play? He last played on April the 9th, on March the 19th, I think. So it's just over a month. Zinchenko was out for about the similar time when he came in against Chelsea away and we won 1-0. He was out for about a month. and he just dropped him in on one training session. I don't know. I don't know. You know, you don't know. They know stuff behind the scenes.
Did Zinchenko play the full game?
But against Chelsea,
yeah,
I'd have to look that up. He played a lot of it.
Okay, fine.
He played probably 60, 70 minutes.
My only worry, even if Saliba is available, is as you just said, he's been out for a month. You know, the last game was the Europa game, wasn't it? So was it Europa game, or did he play one after? No, it was Europa.
No, it was Europa. I believe it was March 19th around that time. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
Yeah.
How fit is he going to be? Because he would have had no game playing time at all, would he? Real game time at all. He'd just be put straight back in.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm trying to see if I can see when Zinchenko came off, just to get an idea of the fitness belief at that point. We scored at 63 minutes. He came off at the 78th minute, played 78 minutes. Well, and I believe he was out for about a month.
Okay.
I'd have to look at our fixtures, but I'm almost certain because I remember
thinking... We get Trossard back, hoping he's going to be available.
Well, we are, but my theory on it... Yeah, exactly. I mean, what else have we got? Like you said, you're ever the optimist and the romantic, and you bring up all those things, and it's lovely to hear. And I mean, you know, it is. I mean, because I have that sort of sense of losing all hope at this point and just dreading going into Wednesday. But on the other hand, I look at it and go, well, you know, largely football fanism is disappointment. I mean, it is largely, isn't it? I mean, unless you're in that lucky bracket where you have, like we did from 98 to 2004, or City now, or, you know, you have those moments where your team's just in a whirlwind. It largely is full of disappointments, but what you don't remember all the time is leading into these games, especially if they are disappointments, but the moments leading into them and forgetting, like, oh, we were this close, or we had this opportunity. And it's everything to have the opportunity, you know. It's everything to have the opportunity. And Arteta needs to draw that into them. He needs to make them see that, if he can get them to see that, past the last three games and forget about the last three games and the fact that they had such a buffer. And the only thing I would say in a positive is this team currently, in the state that it is, needs to know that it has to win. That is definitely true, without doubt. That is definitely true. The thought of needing only a draw going somewhere or something like that wouldn't play into our hands the way this team is at all. It wouldn't. So that is my only sort of that would be where my optimism is coming from in that sense. I think the mindset for the players is very much what they would need, you know, like a do or bust kind of thing. But I don't know, on the formation, I think Mike's formation throws up a lot of interesting points. The weird thing with it is it would be Saka and Martinelli at wing backs, but they're so strong and structured. You could see it. They work so well both ways. Zinchenko dropping in alongside Partey, well, he does it anyway. Do you know what I mean? He does it anyway, or Xhaka and Zinchenko and Partey, they're all there. Odegaard's still sitting in the hole, but with Jesus just in front of him. The only question mark there is who's your left centre back. If Ben White's coming in alongside Gabriel, who's your left centre back? But other than that, it makes a fair amount of sense. But what we have to ask ourselves is it something the players have even been working on? If they haven't, how do you transition to that quickly? Maybe it's an easier transition than we think. I don't know. The only time Arteta has beaten Pep Guardiola, funny enough, was in the FA Cup semi-final, where I believe we set up very similarly. With a kind of a back three-ish, very much on the counter. The difference there is I don't think it matters if we play a back four or a back three. I don't think we're going to play on the counter as such. I think we'll go there to try and dominate the ball. I think we've got the second top possession in the league after City, but the interesting thing about this one is it's at home for City, so them giving up possession like they did at the Emirates won't be so easy for them to do that. So they will come to dominate the ball as well. So we will have to be able to cope without the ball, which might play into having a system like that. Be very curious come 7 p.m. on Wednesday night. I think we'll be clicking on the Arsenal Twitter page, looking at what we're seeing, you know, and we might not be able to tell. We might not be able to tell even from the lineup. We might not. There might be so many things in play where we're going, I have no idea how we're setting up here. But what excitement! I still, with all the disappointment and the frustration and the feeling of doom, but there's still excitement. going into Wednesday.
But Jack, at the end of the day, maybe we can be buoyed by the fact that their never say die attitude in the last few minutes against Southampton. Yeah, it is Southampton. It's like, well, you're expected to win anyway, and It's nothing to really, shout about. But actually, it is, because 3-1 down, 88th minute. Not many teams can come back from that. Not many, but we did. We did, and actually, we had 2 or 3 opportunities to even win it. So.
Yeah.
And again, the argument about them moaning about the extra injury or the injury time. No. You gave us that injury. We actually were shortchanged. I think it should have been 10 or 11, actually. If the World Cup was to go anything to go by, people were having 10, 15 minutes of extra because they were mapping every single moment where the football had stopped. Then, I think there should have been 10 minutes, not 8. I think we were shortchanged. So there was nothing.
You made a point on the linesman as well, having 3 or 4 minutes in that injury time period.
Correct. So, sorry, yes, that was completely warranted. And we had chances to win it. So maybe we can be buoyed on that. And the fact that we're buoyed, that's Arteta to focus on, right, wasn't our greatest of games. Let's forget about the draws the 2 previous draws. Focus on those few minutes where, look at you guys, you came alive. And that is my concern. You talk about concerns, Jack, they're always valid, and I always love hearing you on the WhatsApp or seeing some of your tweets. My concern is, why can't we sustain a good level for 90 minutes? We seem to be playing in bits. We have a good 20-minute spell. We have a good 10-minute spell. We have a good 40-minute spell. In this case, we had a good 10-minute spell at the end of the game. Why are we doing that? Why? There's got to be more consistency. That is my concern. And against a team like City, we need a 90-minute good spell to even give us a chance. That's not even guaranteeing a win. That's just to keep us in it. So, boy, they've got to be at their very, very best. Every single player, whoever comes onto that pitch or that park on Wednesday night, they have to play the game of their lives. They have to.
No, you're spot on. And they're on the City front. I mean, they're pretty much injury free. Obviously, Ake pulled up, if you want to call it that, with an injury. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a planned sort of tactical thing from him. To be honest, he's not really commented too much since that injury. I would not be surprised to see him show out on Wednesday night. In a way, I want him to, because he had Saka in his back pocket in the last game. He really did. And in the FA Cup to a degree. He's obviously been a terrific player for them this season. And like we said a few games ago where Saka was quiet, be careful when he's quiet, Saka, because he'll come back at you. And I think he showed it full well in the Southampton game, to be honest. And he'll be knowing, he'll probably be wishing he goes up against Ake. So in a way, I mean, I hope he's not fit, because it means at least they've got to change something about their team. They've got to bring on a 60 million backup player rather than play a 40 million one. I tell you, FFP's in the mud, isn't it? But
how are Chelsea still signing players? What is it that they've got? What is going on?
Don't know. The frustration, my biggest frustration, every season I get frustrated with something. Sometimes it's, the belief of, a few seasons ago, Liverpool playing fantastic football and all that. I was like, I'm shutting that down. This season, it is the unbelievability of paid Chelsea mouthpieces just disregarding FFP entirely. 4 managers in a season, they're going to have 26 players signed for 650 million, not including all the payoffs for managers and bring it in, paid off Graham Potter for 55 million or something like that, and no one bats an eyelid. And in fairness, for all that City do, Chelsea are there in plain sight, showing you that FFP does not exist. And there are journos out there just lauding it as some sort of achievement to make signings when you're 11th in the domestic league and the most expensive squad in the world. They're an absolute scummy team, scum from the top down. They always have been. Nothing's changed. You can change the ownership, you change what you like. It's still Stamford Bridge. You're still the same group of people going there. Me, you, all. I've been on those terraces. I know exactly what their fan base is like. They are the scummiest team going by far. At least with Man City, they don't have a fan base, so I don't have to worry about them. There's no real fan base. They've got 2 fans: Noel Gallagher, Liam Gallagher. No other fans.
Jack, I was going to say all that. I've been involved in football as a follower and a supporter, or whatever you call it, going to games, watching on TV, going to pubs, blah, 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 for the best part of 4 decades, right? Obviously, I wasn't going to the pub when I was 7 years old, but you know what I mean. And I've never, ever, I don't know, you may have, I've never, ever met a Man City fan, ever. The only time I did was when we had 3 FA Cup semi-finals in a row at Old Trafford, when we had that 3 run, and I was lucky to go to all 3. And the only time I met a Man City fan is the cab driver taking us from the hotel to the ground. And he'd say, no, we're all Man City fans in Manchester. There's no Man United fans here. And that's the only time. But outside of Manchester, never met one. Not one.
Yeah.
Weird,
Come
isn't it?
over it, mate. They're all Man City fans. They've been them for at least 2 or 3 months. It's terrible. It's shocking. It is. Whenever I see someone say that, I'm like, yeah, okay, fair enough. But yeah, it's the way of the world, isn't it? 10, 15 years, you're going to see them all, in their mid-30s saying they've been a City fan for life, and they had family members that grew up right there and all this rubbish. But, it's going to be all of that. You see Wembley Stadium today, pathetic. A half-empty stadium for a semi-final. It's like they don't even care. They don't even care that they're that often.
It's so tragic.
It's so bad, isn't it? It's so bad. But here we go. I mean, we're going there. I don't know when we last won there. It was over about a decade ago with Santi Cazorla and Giroud. Was that 2012-ish?
Coquelin. Wasn't it Coquelin as well? No, that was the other one, wasn't it?
Might have been playing in that game. He might.
I think we beat City 2-1 when we did our
2-0,
my first podcast with you. I'm sure we beat City.
Was that the City? Was that the Cazorla Giroud one? Was it? I'd have to look back. Brilliant.
Yeah, and I think Coquelin had a blinder.
Well,
I'm sure it was.
I know Cazorla was amazing in it, but
yeah,
because he did that, he scored the penalty, and then Giroud scored the header. I think it might have been 2-0. It could have been 2-1, but I think it might have been 2-0. But whatever it's been a long time. It's been a long time. Yeah. So there's that to contend with as well. I mean, we all know about records, in Liverpool, Anfield, and how that plays. But mate, we've got to go and believe. So let's get predictions. What's your prediction for the game and your first scorer? Assuming there is one, and your first scorer for the game.
I have to predict a win because that's the only way. We come this far, right? I've got to predict a win. Got to. I'm trying to convince myself here, Jack.
Hey, it's working. It's working for me. I'm feeling it.
Oh my God! Do you know what? Of all I would have probably gone Martinelli and Saka, but I'm going to say Jesus. Go on.
Oh,
Jesus
wow!
First scorer. Yeah, against it's perfect. Perfect. Can you imagine if Jesus and Zinchenko score, we win 2-1? How about that?
Yep.
But I'll take. Do you know what? Who cares? Just win. I don't care how you do it. I don't care if Ramsdale runs into the penalty area and heads it in or kicks it in or it comes off an arse. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just win.
Yeah.
Just win.
What was your score? Sorry. Yeah, I know your score. 2-1.
2-1.
Jeez. You talked about emotion, and Henri spoke about emotion. He said, you can't be too emotional at this moment, and what I'm seeing from Arsenal is a lot of emotion. I think he had some valid points, to be honest. And in a way, you can't change what you are. This group is a young and emotional and desperate, desirable group that want to do things they've never done. I mean, that's infectious in a way. And this specific game, I want us to show all the emotion. I want us to show all the emotion.
Thank
you know
you.
why? Because we've got to get under their skin. We've got to get under their skin. When Liverpool beat them, when they do, that's exactly what they do. You got Pep moaning at the ref, screaming at the crowd.
Really get into it,
didn't you? Get under their skin. Create something. We've got ex-players of theirs. Don't overdo it, but have it on the right side. Have that controlled aggression on the right side. And be emotional. Show how much you want it. Because I think in the first game, we lacked a little bit of that. I think. It was too subdued. It was too subdued in that game. At 1-1, I was going, let's crack into them here. Let's really go after them. Let's go up to them after a tackle. Let's step into them a little bit, I want to see it. I want to see that, If we go, let's go down 5.
But let's not get anyone sent off, though. That's the thing. Got to be, as you said, controlled.
We can't do that. Yeah, controlled. Got to be on the right side of it.
I think if we had 12 players against their 11, it'd be hard. God, we can't have 10. No,
exactly.
I
was hoping, No, that's what I'm thinking. But, I don't know, mate. I mean, I've got to believe for this moment, at least till so. I'll go. You said 2. I'll go 3-2. I'll go 3-2 Arsenal.
I like it, Jack. Well done, mate.
3-2
I love
Arsenal. Go 3-2. Yeah.
For a second, I was thinking you're going to come with a draw. No, well done. Good.
Yeah.
We need it. We need this positivity as a fan base. We need this positive. Did you see Ian Wright's
Yeah, love all that. Love all that.
And he's that's exactly right. He's saying, we're 5 points clear. Why are we all of a sudden thinking that's it? If we were 5 points behind, maybe. But we're 5 points clear. It doesn't matter. We've got the points in the bag. They haven't. I know everyone just assumes they're going to win all their remaining matches. And yes, they've proven it in the past against Liverpool. They have done. But you never know. And you have to have that hope. And I think we just got to make sure that every fan is feeling that positivity, because it does play back onto the players. It does spill over, because social media is such a powerful thing. You can't tell me that none of those players are not looking at stuff. Of course they are. They're human beings just like you and I, Jack. You're always on Twitter. I'm always on my phone. We're always doing it. It's become part of life. The first thing we do, as soon as we've got a spare moment in anything we're doing in our walk of life, is get that phone out. And we're like that. Probably bad for our necks, bad for our posture, but we're like that. We're looking at our phones. The players are doing the same thing. So if they're seeing negativity in the fans, of course it's going to affect their minds. But if they're saying, do you know what? Come on, lads, we're still going to win this. It helps. And Ian Wright is spot on. Absolutely. We've got to believe. We really do. And why not? And listen, and let me just take myself away from what I've been saying all season, just for a moment. If the worst happens and we end up second and ends up runners up, let's not forget, Jack, right? We've achieved our first goal of getting back into the Champions League, which was always our goal.
We're basically there now, aren't we?
Right.
We're basically there.
Literally.
Yeah.
I think one more win and we've done it. Well, Tottenham can't catch us now. Great. So we've already achieved that.
I think if something happens this weekend result-wise, we're there mathematically, or something like that.
There you go. Right. Perfect. Right. So there's that. And let's not also forget, bar Southampton, ironically, we're the youngest squad. And look what these players have achieved already.
Yeah.
So that should become the foundation of our positivity going into this game. That look, we've already done really well. Yes, there is a frustration and disappointment, because we've been top of the league literally all season from game one. We've been top of the league, and now with a few games less, are we going to let that go? But even if that does happen, it's a great achievement. So I'm feeling positive. So that's what I was saying. At the time when I was sitting in the stands at 3-1 down, I'm thinking, even if we get 3-3, so what? But that was a silly thing. That was just emotional for me at the point in time. Now on reflection, I'm looking forward to the City game. Let's go there and do what we can. Good performance from all lads. No sending offs, please. God, no. And no stupid refereeing decisions at all.
No stupid mistakes.
Yes.
Early doors.
Raphael. Yes, Aaron. Yes. So,
exactly.
Exactly. Jack.
Yeah, I'll be praying, mate. I'll be praying for that. I'll be praying for sleep. I'll be praying for lots of things. Of course.
Yeah.
Imagine you see the starting lineup. Imagine, give him a new spinal. Imagine if I said, you take mine. I don't need it. You take it. That's what I was saying. Just get him out there, you know what I mean? It's
God.
Oh, it's devastating.
Can I have his old one? Because I'm sure it's better than my existing one.
Yeah, I know. I was frustrated over the last 4 or 5 weeks. Where's the contract signing? I mean, get it signed. If he's got a bad back and he's not out in training, he should be sitting in the offices.
Good point.
Yeah, give him a pen. Give him a pen here, because I'm getting worried. But gosh, you saw his face on the sidelines. He must be as frustrated as anyone not being able to be out there. And let's see. Some people seem to think they've got some insight that he might be out doing some stuff on the grass. I think it's very low chance. But either way, like you said, let's bring the optimism. Those 3,000 fans going, Will. We've got to try and do it from home. Whatever you do that has worked this season, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Okay, after this game, you can decide where you go with it, but keep doing it. Or if it's not been working, switch it up. Switch it up, mix it up, right? Like Mikel Arteta says, if a result doesn't go for him, he changes something. He puts on a new jacket. He checks out the Hugo Boss and switches to Armani. Something like that. So whatever you need to do, Arsenal fans, in order for it to happen, do that, okay? I've got my own theories on it, okay?
I've never seen you this positive and this animated ever.
It's worrying.
That's what I'm saying. If look how it's even affected you this season, you feel it, don't you? You can taste that victory, that taste of that Premiership trophy. I'm glad. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
James has missed a good one there. He's going to be devastated when he wakes up in 5 hours or wherever it's going to be. So
God
good.
bless him. He's been on about 20 pods since the game.
I know. He's going for a record, isn't he? Bless him, bless him. We'll get him on the next one, won't we? Neil, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you,
We will
Jack.
be back after. No, I appreciate it. We'll be back after win, lose or draw. We will be back after the massive game away at Man City. But like Neil said, like we said, keep it positive. Do what you do in order to get it done. We are the Arsenal, and people don't know our history. Some of these recent teams, but I tell you what, we know it. And we ain't going down that fight just yet. So come on, the Arsenal. Let's go do it.